Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to announce that Smooth Sack Summer is officially upon us. When you're playing in the summer sun, make sure you're groomed from the pubes to bum. Thanks to our friends at Manscaped, you can make this season your smoothest yet. The Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the ultimate bundle to keep your boys downstairs cool while looking hot. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Get 20% off and free shipping when you go to manscaped.com and use the code SHOW20. Summertime, and the trimming is easy. The Manscaped Performance Package 5.0 Ultra has got everything you need to prepare that summer bod. Every man knows how scary it is when you get close for a shave below the belt, and that's why I trust Manscaped for all my sensitive areas. Okay, now inside the package you're going to find the star of the show, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. The 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next gen skin safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little bit off the top, and then a new foil blade for going smooth wherever your heart desires. Plus, they've also got dual LED spotlights to provide contrast on multiple skin tones, 3-length setting combs, and did I mention that trim is waterproof? Beach, lake, shower, this razor will devour even the strongest pubes. And now that you've got the perfect haircut, use Manscaped's liquid formulations to keep that freshness even at the hottest summer barbecues. The Crop Soother Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserver Anti-Chafe Ball Deodorant. Once they touch your sack, you will never go back. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOW20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOW20 at manscaped.com. It's Smooth Sack Summer, boys. Get on board or get left behind. Hello everyone and welcome to the FM show. I am your host Tony Jameson. Joining me as always is our right-hand man Aaron Falloon, aka RDF Tactics. And we have a guest, Aaron, an old familiar face from back yonder. Everyone, say hello to the managing editor of International Audio at The Athletic, your friend and ours, Sir Iain Macintosh.
How
are you, pal? Are you well?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me on and for knighting me.
I mean, I don't know whether it's legally knighted or not, but if you can try it, go for it. I mean, I've given myself a doctorate.
I've already texted my mum. I'm just under the desk just to let her know the good news.
Yeah, no, I mean, the powers we have now. I mean, again, try it, see if it works. We don't know. No one's questioned us so far.
I like it.
Excellent. Well, it's nice to have you back on, sir. Obviously, it's been a little while. We go. So we'll do the full story. Really, we go way back. It's not just obviously with working at the Athletic. We've obviously worked together throughout sort of various moments in time with regarding Football Manager. We'll get to all that as we get through, but just in general though, are you well? You look well for the visual listeners. Iain looks very well.
Thank you. Yeah, I am well. It's been weird. I mean, it's been 2 years since I was doing the Football Manager show, before I vanished into a quagmire of spreadsheets and grown up stuff. But no, it's all good.
Excellent. Vanishing from spreadsheets to spreadsheets. I quite like that, to be honest. It's literally from the frying pan into the fire, isn't it, at this point?
There's a theme. It always comes down to nerdiness at the end of the day. You can see behind me with rows and rows of Rothmans football annuals.
Now, the question is, though, you've got all those Rothmans annuals there, and they are fantastic. Again, This is very much for the YouTube viewers. They look, A, expensive, and B, they look really smart. But, of course, the question is, Aaron, I've got books behind my shelf. How many of those do you think I've read? I'm guessing it's the
same. Well, to be fair, my mic stand is literally a book as well. It's on the market, yeah. So that's how many books I've read.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'll just put that under my mic stand. Thank you. This looks like a great read. I can get. Oh yes, I sound so much better now with that book. Lovely.
I'm refusing to buy a mic arm. The price is literally the same price as the mic. I can't do that. I can't do that.
I love a Rothmans football annual. and just plucking them at random and just sort of scouring through. And it's all in there. I know there are some people out there who have told me about a thing called the internet, where I can find all of this data that they run. You know what? Those things, they never run out of batteries. They're always there for me.
Don't go on the internet. It's a dark and scary place. Honestly,
it's a horrible place. Nothing like a good book and a stiff drink.
Exactly. Definitely don't get those two things mixed up. Should we do a quick one? Do you want to grab one off the shelf and give us a?
Oh yeah.
Just flick to a random page and give us a dramatic reading. I think that's quite nice, wouldn't it, Aaron?
I can.
Yeah, I'm really.
We're on
I've never even heard of
now,
one.
aren't we?
Yeah, I've never even heard of one of these things.
What? Oh, these are amazing. They're sorry, I'm doing a mirror thing. We could play Me and My Rothman. So I've opened at Chelsea, 1994 to 1995. I wonder if you could tell me Chelsea's top goal scorer in that season.
In 1994.
1994-95. This is a good, 9 years before Abramovich. It's back in the days when Chelsea...
This feels like a Gavin Peacock.
Yeah, I don't want to get the years wrong. I want to go with Flo.
Oh, Tarja Flo.
Way too late for early for Flo. Gavin Peacock is in fifth place with 4 goals. But the answer we were looking for was John Spencer. See? Without this,
John Spencer.
I'll never get it. I was going to say Michael Dewberry or something.
Michael Dewberry.
I think he was in the under 14 at that point.
I love. There's never been anybody in the world who's went. You know who scores a load of goals? Michael Dewberry.
I'll tell you what he was good at though. Near post headers from corners. So
look at that! There's a link, isn't it?
Being mighty.
I thought they had the routine going. I thought they had their post routine going by then.
They have nerfed that completely now, haven't they? I mean, like you cannot score in their post header at all.
It's that or you're conceding them. That's what's happening with me.
It's taken us 4 minutes for us to anger the beast, hasn't it?
I've got high hopes for FM25. I need my near post corners back.
I think we're gonna. I mean, we've got Aaron complaining about the woodwork, you complaining about scoring close to the woodwork. I mean, I don't know. Aaron, how's it been going this week? Anything been happening in Aaron world?
Still the same, busy scouting stuff. I've become real addicted to football. Like I always liked football, but I've never had this urge of like I need to go watch football. Like I wake up as like I need to watch football, and it's just anything that I can find. Really, like I've even got subscriptions to the Hungarian broadcasting that shows there. I mean, you can literally buy a game for like 89p or something like that, or the subscription is really cheap. It's like £2. So I'm like, I might as well just do that, and then there's just football on all the time. I'm watching the Bulgarian football, Hungarian football, and it's quite intriguing. Like it's becoming a niche thing now. So now I've noticed it today actually, when someone's talking about something that's happening in that league, even though it's not even in the same language, people like are atting me in their conversation and then using my scout reports to be like, this is a good player. Even RDF says so, and I'm like, mate, I have no idea. No idea who these people are. Yeah, even a Bulgarian news report or whatever, yes, that mentioned me in one of these things as well.
You should be putting yourself around football clubs. I'm like absolutely serious.
Well, that's LinkedIn. So when you mentioned LinkedIn off camera, I got a bit excited. I'm like, because it's quite weird, right? Like I always used to think there's this massive gap between just like you, a normal person, and someone in the professional game. But it's literally a connection away.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy now. It's like, just a connection away. And I can get like feedback quite easily on what I'm doing and where I can improve.
Yeah, Tor Christian Carlson, who he was a scout and then he became a sporting director at Monaco, at Leverkusen. He literally started, he's from Norway. And for some reason, I can't remember why, but he could watch all the Italian games. And he wrote to Graham Taylor at Watford and said, look, I'm all over Italian football. Can I scout for you? And Graham Taylor, being the lovely man
I've done that.
Yeah, well, Graham Taylor said, go on then, send me a scout report. And he sent it in and Taylor said it's so much better than everything else we've had. And so began a professional career in football.
That's crazy.
So
I've done something similar. So the owner, or one of the owners at Boltev Plovdiv in Bulgaria, he's like into Bitcoin and stuff. But I've been watching them because they got quite a few youngsters. But I've noticed like their trend in their transfer and then where they can head off as well. So recently they've been selling to the Belgian second tier. Pretty sure they can get decent money, but they're making decent profit. And I'm kind of like, I'm aware of the type of players that they're going for. So I'm like, I've just messaged them on Twitter. Just randomly, I've just sent them a long thing. Like, if you lot ever need someone, like, and I've said why, and I was like, I can get a reference and I've got scout reports online. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to give this to my people and then we'll get back at some point. And I was like,
do it, man.
wow. That's just like that. Yeah. I guess if you don't ask, you don't get, right?
I love that. I've got several clubs telling me to never contact them again, which is seems unfair, really. But you know.
Yeah, it's because now I'm a part of a group called Euro Scouts, and so they started watching the under 17s, and they've got me involved quite late on because they've seen what I've been doing on LinkedIn. So again, from LinkedIn, someone just seen what I'm doing. I'm like, he can join our group, sort of thing. So it's just a group of scouts that are watching, and they're just doing scout reports on. They get assigned players, do scout reports, and they share it on LinkedIn and stuff like that. So yeah, again, just keep connecting with different scouts. One scout's in Netherlands, one's in Romania or something like that. So it's pretty decent, fun.
Nice. It's a big planet. No one person can watch all of the football.
Yeah, literally.
Believe me,
yeah.
I've tried.
But it's just addictive, man.
Also, as well, at least we now know where your money that could have gone for the mic arm is now going. So this is why you can't afford a mic arm. You've got all your subscriptions to the Slovenian third division. You know, I've got to get the all access pass for that.
I'm paying for like BT Sports and stuff like that, and there's just not obviously BT Sports. Most of their games I've already seen watching it live anyway, and it's like the rewatch isn't particularly great for me. Whereas watching in Hungarian league, it's like there's just rewatching because a lot of their games are on TV, right? In England, you get like 2 on a Saturday, 2 on a Sunday, whatever it is. Whereas there, it can be on all day sort of thing. So,
is now a good time to say if there's any football apps that have international leagues available to them, if they want to sponsor the show, feel free to get it. Just save Aaron a few quid, right? Come on, like, he's literally paying as much in rent as he does in his football subscriptions now. So come on, help the boy out. He's on LinkedIn, for God's sake.
That's a good point. I'll give One Football an email after this. I'm not going to actually now advertise what they show. So yeah, I'll keep that in the email.
But enough of them. We'll sort all that out later, right? We'll sort out business is business, right? But yeah, Iain, we've got you in right now. It's taken a while. Obviously, we've tried to get you in previously. I should point out before we go backwards, the last time we tried to get you onto a podcast. Okay, now this is quite one of those sort of like one of those stories where when you tell it, it makes no sense, right? I obviously. Some of you might know I used to run a podcast called Football Manager Therapy. Shout out to the show. It's still running. And it was myself and Matt Richards were hosting the show. We were approaching episode 100. We'd started in lockdown. We thought we're going to get a big, massive guest for episode 100 on. And I rang Iain and just said, look, any chance you fancy doing this for episode 100? To which Iain said, how's about we have another conversation because I'm about to leave the Football Manager show, and would you like to be on that? And episode 100 of FMT never happened.
Oh, sorry about that.
It's all right. They kept going, but it was very much a Matt, the conversation went different to I expected.
I'm leaving. Bye.
Oh my days.
Yeah, but yeah, it was fantastic, and of course, we've managed to get you in now. And I should probably say, sorry, I'm a bit all over the place at this point. I haven't even addressed, and again, the audio listeners won't be aware of this, but get yourselves on YouTube right now, okay? We have to discuss this right now. I'm wearing something, but all right, I need more context than that, okay? He's wearing clothes today, is he? Yes, he is. No, I've got myself addicted to Whatnot. Right, it's like a football auction site where you can buy like shirts and stickers and football cards and stuff. And the shirt I'm wearing right now, fellas, we've all had a little look at it. It's rather beautiful. It's an original early 2000s DC United shirt from America. We all know who played for DC United, don't we? Yeah. Are you with me, people who are listening? Are you with me? I'll just turn round and you can have a look.
The man, the legend.
Freddie. The legend. Absolute FM. well, championship manager, right? Or football manager? Football manager.
I think he was officially a football manager wonder
Football
kid,
manager,
wasn't he?
yeah.
We've got the GOAT, Freddie Adu,
Ooh.
number 9, on the back of DC United. I'm convinced he's one of the original football manager ones. He's not a champ man, is he? He's a bit
He
later down the line.
might have been on CM4, which was
That's what I was thinking. Champ 4, yeah, just before the
0304,
breakup.
where they first
Google
brought in
this.
the coloured dots.
Mhm.
Ooh.
CM4,
Yeah.
Freddie Adu.
Yeah.
Is this you just talk amongst yourselves while I'm
Can you
busy Googling
believe
this. But it's,
Because it just threw me off. I was like, FM Legends. But wait, or was it Champ Man?
see,
That's coming up on 20 years. How mad is
I
that?
know.
Wow.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's just it makes no sense. Like turning up as a 13-year-old in game.
I still remember though. I think it would have been 2005. Now, I didn't read computer games magazines by this point, and the internet wasn't what the internet is now. And I just knew that there were 2 games. There was Championship Manager and Football Manager. And of course, there hadn't really been a proper rival for Championship Manager. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know what the split was. So I bought both, feeling particularly flush. And I didn't do that again because one of them turned out to be really good, and one of them turned out to not really be finished.
Yeah.
So we've got this on. So we'll cycle back then. We'll cycle back, right? So obviously the Athletic happened with myself and Aaron and yourself, Iain. The Football Manager show, like, I don't want to speak for Aaron on this, but I felt a little bit like a baton was being passed at that point. It felt like sort of like you had this thing, and it was all amazing and fantastic, and it was like, would you two like to carry this forward? and we were sort of like, yes, sir. Thank you so very much, sir. That's very kind.
Well, you're both far too modest. I mean, Tony, you're responsible for basically the cultural crossover high point of anyone who's been involved with Football Manager, with that incredible stand-up show you did. No one's done anything that good on any medium connected with Football Manager. And Aaron has the advantage on both of us because he actually understands it. You know, we're just two idiots kind of flailing around. He's there talking about Met Salas and actually knowing what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's true. He actually knows things about the game, doesn't he? We brought him in because it's like, he's like, why are you clicking that button? I'm like, I don't know. Well, why should I not? Yeah, very much felt like that. Like Aaron's definitely the brains of the operation, I think, round here.
Yeah. But I felt like it was a bit of a unique situation anyway, because I remember obviously being a guest and then a couple more times, and it turned to like, because it was once and then it was like 2-3 times. But I do remember this. I think it was after the second time. It was, I can't remember if it was Ian or Steve, but sort of gave me a lesson on like when to talk and all this sort of stuff. So I was like, it felt like I got trained a little bit, but I felt that after when I got the job, I was like, hey, hold on a second. Did they know before? And I got like just a little pep talk beforehand, before that actually happened. So I always say, I got trained before,
We did keep a short list, an active short list of good people. It was good fun, and I loved what you guys did with it. And it was a shame, the sponsorship deal came to an end, as so many have. And I think as a business, The Athletic might have realised that launching 40 football podcasts at once wasn't necessarily the best plan, and so good thing came to an end. But you never know.
Yeah, no, but like I said, the opportunity was fantastic. And again, I remember that conversation of like, we want you to take over the show. Like, do you want to come and do it? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, that sounds really cool. And it was like, but I want Aaron on the show as well. And I was like, yeah, so do I. So this makes it even easier. Like just tell me something I don't also want. Come on.
It's just that implicit unsaid thing, so that someone knows what they're talking about.
Yeah. I was like, good. I'm glad it's not left to just me to have to work this one out.
But yeah, it's good fun, and it's just I always think back to when I was, it would have been like 14, 15, and my mum telling me off for playing what would have then been Championship Manager 1. And just like, come on, you got to apply yourself to stuff. You're never going to get anywhere like playing video games all the time. And so even for a brief position, to be put in a position where you're literally getting paid to play Football Manager, you are by definition a professional football manager. It's like, I
get that. I'm like that all the time. Because for me, it wasn't even just like one. It wasn't just the mum or that. It was because I used to bring it everywhere. I used to play it everywhere. I couldn't go to my grandparents' house and just play with my cousins. It'll be like 20 minutes of playing. I'm like, oh, no one's on the computer. Then quickly run on the computer and just sit there all day. But I used to get it from everyone. So now if I do get an experience at a professional club and I all get this, oh, well done, Aaron, well done. It's like, yeah, but do you remember how this is all started and how it's all become? Yeah. So it is nice sometimes when you go back and you can say, yeah, I'm actually earning from playing the game.
It is crazy. I mean, you said there, Iain, like sort of touching upon, creating stuff off the back of FM, and yeah, well, when we first started playing, as OGs, none of this was even a thing. There was no one making anything about that. Like video game culture wasn't exactly huge. I mean, it had all the consoles and stuff, which was pretty cool, but there was no associated culture with it. And I remember, again, prior to the stand-up show, obviously you'd already done the book. We'll talk about the book in a wee second. But like, I was talking to Mrs. J about even doing a 5-minute stand-up routine about Football Manager in venues that had stag do's, hen do's, office parties, like couples in these like 400-seater rooms on a Saturday night when everyone's been on it since lunchtime. And she's like, why on earth are you thinking about Football Manager is a good idea for a stand-up? I'm like, honestly, people will get it. And I did this bit and it was working. And then when we started planning the show, she was again naturally a bit hesitant to it, going, you're going to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival where people can choose to see anybody. and you think that people will come to a room to see you talk about Football Manager for an hour. And I was like, it does sound crazy, but I think it might just work.
When you put it that way.
I remember I wrote my first book in 2007 and came out and no one got sued. So that's a success as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And the publisher said, what do you want to do anything next? Like pitch ideas at me. And I pitched a Football Manager book and was just told, no, what the hell is wrong with you? No one's going to go and buy a book about a video game. And so I sort of gave up. I thought, well, they know the business. And then that was when Neil got in touch and said, I'm making a Football Manager book. Do you want to be a part of it? We're self-publishing because we can't find anyone to do it. And there was a very real difference there. I had responded to rejection by just going, and Neil had gone, all right, I'm going to set up my own company and we'll do it like that. That book has sold more copies than any other book I've done, possibly put together. So, yeah, it's...
Wow.
Sometimes you've got a hunch about something and it turns out you're right and everyone else is wrong. Doesn't happen very often, but it's nice when it does.
It's a great thing about FM though, isn't it? It is. I remember like before, like when you wanted to talk about a player, you would be like, oh yeah, he's a bit of an inside forward. And people are like, oh, you're just getting that from Football Man. You don't know what you're talking about. But now when you go on Twitter and like you have these scouts like profiling a player, it's so huge. It's so important. I'm like, hang on a second. When us FM players were profiling players before, we didn't know what we was talking about. Now it's such an important thing. But that's always the thing. And I noticed actually, there's actually a little disconnect with what people say or what people think on Twitter and what actual scouts think. Because like, wait, I'm just getting all these opportunities, but I'm just technically a Football Manager player. But the way they see it, it's like they're taking different information and they find information that what I'm saying important. But obviously someone else reading that as just someone that wants to read, I don't know, normal football content or whatever it is, they don't necessarily take in that information. So it's just all a bit too much for them sometimes as well.
It's layers now with scouting. It's not the old days where you got a guy in a big coat with a pocket full of mint imperials watching a non-league game and going, that boy can play. It's, there are people who are watching the Hungarian second division who are then pointing someone out and up the line it goes. And, I'll go back to Tor Christian Carlson, who's I've spoken to about scouting many times.
Yeah.
And he says one of the most important things he would do if he was at like a youth tournament, he would make sure he was in the same hotel as the players, and then he would just sit on a lounger by the pool with a newspaper and a drink, and he'd just watch, because all the players would come out, and he'd see who was the alpha, like who's
yeah. It's just crazy because this is what.
This goes back to what you're doing, Aaron.
Yeah,
with
this
the
is what I mentioned
traits,
before. Like I told people before, like a lot of scouts can see who the good player is, but for me, it's always watching the person and how they are, how they respond to decisions going bad, when they're walking out, when they're even doing like, even now, like I'm watching the under-17s tournament. Sometimes you get to see them doing the warm-up and just kicking the ball about. And for me, it's like who's trying to be flashy or who's focused, who's using both feet and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that's where I actually get a lot of the information from. And it's like, even one guy, I'm just watching the Serbian thing, and it was weird, like how early in the game he'll get frustrated, but he can instantly calm down. And that's a trait that a lot of people don't have, especially in a young person as well. When you feel the game's going against you, it's easy just to keep lashing out or stay frustrated, but he'll get frustrated, he'll pick the ball up, do that, and then just instantly calm down and just go back to his game and focus. I'm like, that's good. Even though he didn't have a great game, something like that for me is so positive, but that information is important. And again, that goes down to like what people see on Twitter. That is not important for them. How a player responds to a decision going against them or whatever, that's not important. More importantly for them is, are they doing step overs? Can they do an overhead kick? And are they in the half channels and all of this stuff, where I realize actually that sort of language, again, some of it's important, but a lot of it, what you're seeing on Twitter, is just not really important to what a manager wants to read. You got to, when I'm writing this stuff, I'm actually thinking about what a manager would want to see as well, rather than what I think people on Twitter would see, even though that's where I'm sharing it.
I think it goes into sort of like how you can play this game so many different ways as well. Like, you know, you say there about like, we've said so many times on these episodes, like, just because one attribute says this, it doesn't mean that that's the key thing. Or like you're looking beyond the attributes, you're looking for playing styles, you're looking for personalities. And
that's where it links from Football Manager, because that's when now you're the manager. And it was like, I remember I keep talking about scouting and my issues with scouting is like, if I was a manager, I would want certain information about a player, certain thing. And that's where my frustrations about scouting comes from in Football Manager. But that's where it comes from in real life as well. Now I can, because I was a manager, in my head, I've been a manager. So now I'm doing these things thinking, well, if I was a manager, what would I want to read and what information do I need and whatever? Like you're talking about building a squad of tall players and having a certain personality and that sort of stuff. So if you was a manager in real life, you would have these sort of morals. So when you're scouting, you would want to see and find these sort of players. And that's how I am as well. That's why the personality stuff is like very important for me when I'm scouting.
See, there's logic there. There's logic in it, Iain. That makes
sense. It
comes
from Football Manager. I wouldn't have wanted to do that if it weren't from Football Manager. It came from Football Manager.
Well, see, this is why things like this exist. See, Ian's old dusty book here, the Football Manager Guide to Football Management, available in all good bookshops and or charity shops, Iain, possibly.
Or, you know, the works where they've got those wire baskets of books, or many landfills across South Wales.
Oh, honestly, I got this as a Christmas present years ago, and I was reading it. I was like, this is brilliant. Like, because again, there's like, we mentioned the stand-up show, and I had a chat with one of the old PR guys at SI after we'd done the stand-up show, and they were like, oh, they'd said, do you want to like sort of consider a book? And I was like, there is a book. There's already one. I don't need to do another one. Like, what am I going to add here that's not already been done?
It was funny because Football Manager Stole My Life came out in 2012, and that was more like a sort of coffee table collection of basically extended articles and silliness and actual journalism from other people, I should stress, not from me. And then this one was more about sort of lessons you can learn from real life that will help you in Football Manager, which I think confused a lot of people. Certainly going on the Amazon reviews, it looked like a lot of people were like, Jesus Christ, this isn't about Football Manager at all. It's about football. So maybe some better signposting for, lessons learned out of every disaster.
But a precursor to a podcast, really.
Yes, I love that. That came after I sold Muddy Knees Media to The Athletic. When a company buys your company, you stay there in a what they call an earn-out period, where they say to you, we haven't just bought your company, we've bought you, and you're going to be a huge part of this. But the reality is, we want you where we can see you, just in case when we go through the books, we find kind of radiation things. So there I was, kind of making little podcasts and helping with the transition. And I said, look, you're trying to reach new people, and you have this slate of 40 odd podcasts and podcasts for every club, but you're missing this huge group of people, the people who play Football Manager. And because it was post-pandemic as well, my theory was that loads of people who had played it in the 90s or the noughties, who'd gone on and got married and had kids or got busy jobs, and they'd all drifted away. And suddenly there was this chance to come back in, because it was either that or, Tiger King or whatever it was. And there was an opportunity to say to people, the game's changed. It really has changed. There's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And so we never sort of set out to break the game or tell you how to win it, but just how to enjoy it and not get so flustered. Because you come into that as a new person or a person who's 5 or 6 years out, and you're looking at it going, Jesus Christ, this is like another job. So breaking down all of that, and of course, with you two coming in, having the opportunity to really dig down on the tactical aspects, I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, I think we get that from time to time. And I think the pandemic, again, we say there's obviously those horrific consequences with it, but the opportunities that arose off the back of it, say that it's do Zoom quizzes or dig out a video game. It's like, well, I don't really want to do the Zoom quiz again, so let's get back on the game. And so many people left the game because it got a bit more complicated. But coming back in, and we've noticed now, like, we're finding the easy way to play the game, aren't we, Aaron? We're sort of like saying, look, there's all these hints and tips that are around. It looks daunting on the first startup screen now, but when the Football Manager show was being put together, it felt very much like a guide, and it sort of like walked you through it, and it's like, hey, it's cool, don't worry, look, we'll get through this together, it's gonna be great. And like, that was a really useful piece of content in the space that there didn't really seem to be. I mean, Aaron's busy there smashing the tactics videos left, right, and center on YouTube. You've got people like Lujo, Work the Space, Dr. Benji, all like doing these brilliant let's plays. Zealand was like busy like destroying Twitch. And that's before you even get to like you rebuild guys and experiment people who are sort of going, oh, we've got these crazy things we can do with Football Manager. There didn't seem to be anyone going, right, you're new around here. Okay. Like, everyone's like, come here, right? Let's have a chat and we'll talk through it.
Yeah, that was definitely.
No, sorry, I was going to say, is that, or there was that sort of content, but it was in video form, but it was also like, do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's what sometimes can push me away from certain videos as well. It's the form that it's in, like, not necessarily the information, it's the form, and you know what I mean, like the transitions and and not everyone's into that short, and it's like it's only 8 minutes or a 10-minute, 12-minute video where obviously these podcasts go on between 45 minutes and an hour. And
these ones are 2 hours at the minute. So.
and it's at like just a normal pace, and you're at a talking pace. You don't feel like you have to pause, quickly go into FM and do something, and then listen back again, and that sort of thing. And I think people enjoy that, obviously, because they kept coming back and listening.
I always wanted to keep it light and conversational, and just the things that stick with me through it are things like player traits that you see them, but you don't really kind of compute them. And the difference they make now in just wanting a box-to-box midfielder, for example, and if you've got someone who gets forward all the time, it compared to someone who doesn't, it's like a massive multiplier on everything. And I think I was certainly guilty of, I need a box-to-box midfielder, so I want pace and stamina, bang, drop, and move off and never think about it again. And the ability to not just tailor your tactics, but really enhance every aspect by getting the right sort of player to do the right sort of job. Just took it to a different level. And I'm someone who played the game for over 20 years before that point. And that's just one thing. Who knows where they're going to be when they do the great reboot later this year.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like, we all get sort of entrenched in our own way of playing. And again, I've been guilty of this. In the past, when the pandemic started and we started doing more of this video content, and again, the podcasting as well, will I was very much a case of, well, this is how I play, right? And that's just it. Like, I play this way. And then the more I started talking to people like Aaron, other people within the sort of the wider FM community, and going, oh, so that's what that does. Okay, cool. Well, right. So I want to do X, Y, and Z. I wonder if I do this, this, and this, will that work? It does. Right. Okay, brilliant. Now we're talking. Okay, so I need this guy to really kick that ball massively long, right, to the big fella. So midfielders, well, you still use midfielders. Pfft, why are you bothering with them?
Yeah, it's that was a message we kept pushing. That everything is connected to everything. If you want to play quick kind of tiki-taka football, get technical coaches to coach quick technical football. And it was just keep thinking, keep going beyond.
That's why I like doing it in podcast form, because it's difficult to do it in a video form, right? Because like you can talk about one thing, but that one thing is linked to another, and I find it difficult to then not talk about that. That's why that I ramble, because I find like everything is so important. Everything is linked. If I'm talking about a role, then for me the player traits are going to come in. And then even the attributes now, depending on the traits, then the attributes will be dependent. For an example, if your player likes to try killer balls, that might look great written as a trait, but does he have the attributes to do it? He might have passing, he might have vision, he might have technique, but is his composure and decision-making high to match that as well? Otherwise, what you're going to have is someone that's just trying killer balls just when he doesn't need to and that sort of thing. But it's very difficult to talk about a tactic, then a role, then tell you what player you need for that role, and then talk about the attributes, but do that for every single position sort of thing. But I find it fairly difficult.
But then also links, Aaron, sorry to jump in, because this is like how our brains all work now, and like the whole interlinked connectivity of it all. You've got there a player who's got tries killer balls, he's got great vision, he's got great passing, he's got great composure. However, does your forward have good anticipation, good off the ball, good acceleration? Exactly, is he reading those passes? Because you might well be wasting possession. You put the ball and go, right, there's a great pass, and you go, why has he not moved for it? Or are you playing the right role with the forward as well? See? And this is why it gets rambly, because you all start, it becomes theory at this point, doesn't it? That we can
people
still,
often
does that work?
Yeah, they overlook traits massively though. They do. And sometimes as well, like, I'll be watching someone and be like, this player's average and he's performing, I don't know why. And it's just like, because someone has 13, like that's still very good compared to someone that has 16, 15, 8. And then, you know what I mean? Like someone actually being competent in all areas, but then the player traits as well. They play like a box to box and he's running through the center of the pitch and that he's just doing everything that you're asking him to. And what you visioned, he's more likely to perform that compared to someone that has the flashy attributes and doesn't necessarily have the right traits as well. But it's the attributes, man. They always take you away. It's difficult. Sometimes you see those greens, you're like, I am not even looking at the player traits. You forget about that. You're like, I need him.
I really love it when you get really deep into the game and the player personalities, because obviously they can't put negative personalities on real players. So once the new gens start coming in and you've got like slacker, low determination, kicks kittens,
waste of space,
mum hates him,
bit of an outsider.
It's almost like they have these opinions on current players, but they just can't give them to the current players. It's like, I'm just gonna give them. We'll wait for the regions to come through.
I had one. I think I've spoke about it previously, but I had a Danish new gen in my save last season. He was brilliant, by the way. He was so good. I had him for 3 seasons, and each of those 3 seasons, he got done for being out on the lash. Like, but he just needed that fire in him to play. He was brilliant.
Yeah, I've just sacked the youth team player at Roma for doing that. But largely, he was really bad at football.
Okay. There's that as well.
Okay.
And Italy, you can't do that in Italy. Go to England.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Well, I was about to ask about that, because Aaron's saying there about it's all in the attributes. It's all in the attributes. It's also partly the gaffer. Now, the gaffer, of course, works everything out, looks at what we've got there, puts those pieces together. Some of us are very much, I am the head coach of the first team. Thank you very much. That's where I am. Some of us, Iain, are megalomaniacs and control freaks, aren't they?
Yeah, this is why I never
and
get more
insist
than
on making
6
sure that
people.
everything is under their control.
I had this game because I went back to play Football Manager 2017 for a while. I found I couldn't get going with the new one. I found there were just too many clicks in between every match,
Yeah.
and I'm suddenly appointing under 21
We
sports
mentioned this,
scientists or being dragged into a recruitment meeting. Like, can I play a press conference? I was like, Jesus, I just want to play the game. So I'd always loved 2017, and I went back there, and I thought, right, I'm going to give myself full stats because I played this game a lot, and I've won some stuff on it. So I am an international class manager in this universe. Thank you. And start unemployed. And I think at that point it's Jurgen Klopp's second season at Liverpool, and he screws the pooch. Liverpool are dreadful, and they're 14th when I come in and take over. And there's something about when you manage the big clubs that you're like, right, I'm not just fixing this team, I am creating a dynasty.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
on that staff responsibility sheet, I will take control. I will take control. I will take control. I'm managing the under 18s. I'm bringing in a proper coaching team for the under 18s. I'm playing technical football. I get 200 hours later, I'm probably into my second month, I think, at there. when you manage it, like particularly the middle team, the under 21 or under 23 side, there's so many they play like 60 games a season. If I'd just done the first team, I'd be 20 years deep by now. But God, it's satisfying.
It is that, like, it's, I mean, I suppose, Aaron, Wenger had that philosophy from the ground up.
Yeah.
The Ajax situation, of course, Barcelona very much from the bottom, the Macintosh school of football. It's all the stuff that's spoken about.
It's weird though, isn't it? Because you would say, or you could argue that modern football is a bit opposite, right? You get to these big clubs, and now you're like, okay, I'm the head coach. I'm just focusing on the football, forget all the other stuff. Whereas if you're doing that, you're coming from the bottom to the top, then you want to kind of control everything, be a bit more of a control thing. But now you're like, relax, up, feet up. Yeah, just the training pitch and the press conferences, and I'm good.
In real life, you're dealing with real people, which is obviously the aspect that can never be replicated. And there's a certain stress in terms of managing people, whatever you do, whether it's football or WH Smith.
It's
dealing
crazy.
with different personalities. And then there's time and energy levels. And in real life, it's very difficult for a human being to do everything. But here, there's as much time as you want. So the upshot of that Liverpool game is I'm now 3 seasons deep, and as well as managing the under 21s, the under 20, under 18s, and the seniors, I'm also the England manager. Because it's like, if time is infinite, then so can my workload be. I will never get to season 4. Never.
No, I'm just thinking almost playing it in real time, but then slower again. Like I'm playing at half speed of life. Like,
At which point
I need to know: are you calling up a lot of Liverpool players?
Sorry,
are you one of those? Are you one of those international managers or Football Manager that call up their own players a lot?
Well,
I feel very seen here, Aaron. I feel very seen.
What I would do I'd call up players who deserve to be called up, but I would never substitute Manchester United players. Like if we're 4-0 up in a meaningless friendly, all the Manchester United players. Tempo up to max. By the time they come back for the weekend,
full press,
all in 60% fitness.
Because that was part of the concern I had. You've just hit it there. I do call up my players in Greece, but then I'm like, but I need my players.
Yeah,
I need my players. They're going to ruin the season for me. It's all well and good me giving international caps to my youngsters and making them internationals, but now I've ruined it for myself.
Yeah, find out who you're playing the weekend after and kill them.
It's time to say hello to the newest sponsor of the FM show. Everybody, say hello to Full-Time Prints. Full-Time Prints offer a variety of prints to give football fans the chance to remember their favourite football moments forever. They currently offer a range of goals, team sheets, commentary and league tables. Prints are available in A4 through to A1 and can be bought with or without a frame. It makes the perfect gift for occasions such as Christmas, birthdays, Father's Day, Mother's Day, just because presents. Like, seriously, this is the perfect gift for every football fan. You want to go on the website, browse what they've got. They've got so many things to choose from, whether it's teams, European teams, international teams, moments that happen. And if you can't find something you like, you can even do a custom request. You can create anything you've seen yourself. Maybe you've seen a goal you want to relive. You can have that. Maybe you want to relive the first match you ever attended. Or maybe, if you're a Football Manager fan, you might want to do a custom one just designed for Football Manager that immortalizes your save forever. You can have a print done that has all your trophies, the entirety of the save, the key moments. Maybe you want to relive the Champions League final and have your team sheet and everything on there. You can do that with full-time prints. I'm thinking about getting myself one, and I'm going to put it right behind my head in my office, just behind here. And as a little sweetener for you, we've got a little bit of discount to help you out here. So use the code TheFMShow. We'll get you 10% off your entire order. Go to fulltimeprints.com. Use the discount code TheFMShow. That's 10% off your entire order, and there's free shipping on orders over 50 quid. So go get yourself a full-time print, immortalize that Football Manager save, let us know what you've got. Visit fulltimeprints.com, use the discount code TheFMShow, get yourself 10% off, and remember, free shipping on orders over 50 quid.
Oh my!
I think that's a smart way of doing it, isn't it? This Macintosh, he knows a bit about the dark arts, doesn't he? He knows what's going on.
And so it's said.
Exactly, yeah. So if you go back through the Rolodex, because you've mentioned there FM17, and it instantly got me thinking to like previous versions that I've really enjoyed. Everyone knows my love of FM10. It's such a great game. FM10 was superb. FM08, again, a good vintage, I think. But I enjoyed is it FM20? It would have been for FM20. I thought it was really nice. I had a cracking Kaiserslautern save on that one, which I fully got into, and that was like when they were in Bundesliga, 3 Liga. So it was my first time sort of going down into 3 Liga and playing in there. I had so much fun with it. It was amazing. But if you were to go back and recount previous saves, I mean, which ones come straight to the memory bank?
I mean, I actually found 92, 93, which you can play in your browser. And mysteriously, through what technology I know not, you can save games and then come back to them. I don't know how that happens. But the 1992, 1993 version was just wonderful with, Brett Angel at Southend. There's literally no one listening to this podcast right now who knows who Brett Angel is.
I think he played for Sunderland for a little bit as well.
And then 0102 was fantastic. If you can hear a gentle mewing, my cat has just arrived. So
Cat cam.
The assistant, we finally get to meet the assistant manager.
Dark arts and now a cat to stroke while I'm talking about domination. 0102.
You're really playing that evil genius card well, aren't you? It's like, this is my look now. Hello.
Just need a map of the world behind me, and I'm there. 0102 had, because with every game it's about that balance between the playability and the level of detail, and I thought 0102 was the most playable one that there's ever been, because you could I don't know if you could do a season in an evening and still be living a reasonable life as a reasonable human, but you could certainly do half a season in an evening. And you could plow through a 20-season career across a summer holiday. I'm sure there's better things to be doing in the summer, but I haven't found them yet. So that one was wonderful. And FM07 was one of my favourites as well, which I don't know if it was a bug or if it's just the way the people felt that football should be played. But if you had a target man, anyone over 6'2" with jumping and heading of more than 18, you could destroy everyone. Antoine Sibierski was basically a cheat mode. And you just narrow, long ball, use target man, match Sibierski with anyone with a pace of more than 15, and you would just kick it long, get the nod on, run through. And I had a Norwich team there that were just for 4 or 5 seasons just pissing all over everybody. And like an idiot, I left to go and take the Tottenham job, and I was never that happy again.
You need to get players like Karsten Janker in as well. Was it Jan Kohler?
Yep.
A giant forward who could just destroy teams like Mecha Striker, wasn't he?
My God.
Yeah. Who was the German guy around about 2006, 2007? He was just the best target man in the world. Miroslav Klose.
Miroslav, yeah, I was gonna say him
Yeah.
and Luca Toni up front. Oh, the dream.
Yeah.
It's
Start
like-
with Sibierski, build to Miroslav Klose.
I had on one of the, I think we mentioned it again on a previous episode, when the mad scientist does his retro databases.
Oh.
Again, we'll come to that in 2 seconds. We did the last one, which was the 99 2000, was it that he did?
Nice.
So just as Sunderland were getting promoted from the Division 1 into the Premier League, I had a strike force of Niall Quinn, Kevin Phillips, and Miroslav Klose.
Yeah, two big men and a quickie.
Yeah, exactly. It was amazing. So much fun with that. But the mad scientist, we should say, you and I got you playing PvP, Iain.
Yeah, we did
Player
that
versus
competition,
player.
didn't
We got you in the draft, didn't we? For
Yeah.
the 93-94 season, and we were basically going, who would know the 93-94? So I was like, well, me and Iain, basically.
Oh, yeah. I love that guy. I think he's completely insane, obviously, spending 6 months rebuilding the database. But
Mad, yeah.
to play with Jan Molby with his pace of 2 and passing of 20 and tries killer balls often. I had to go with Liverpool on there, and it was just hilarious. Like it just sit in between the your own penalty area and the centre circle, trundle along like a shopping trolley, look up and just pop it 60 yards onto John Barnes's instep. It was again petite mode.
There's not many games where Gary Penrice becomes the option. Is there?
I do find the issue with me in those databases. You know who became good. So it's like now you're in this rush of just signing all these wonder kids that were wonder kids at the time, but you know they became good, sort of thing. Yeah, that's always my issue. I can't go through a transfer season just getting 2 people. It has to be 7, 8 plays a window. Yeah, that's a big issue.
It was nice to sort of just scoop through the under-18 leagues, knowing that there aren't many players and they're all going to get good, and you're just buying them all for 200 grand a piece. And under-18 team. But,
exactly.
I remember seeing a few people signing Roberto Carlos for like 50 grand or something. And you're like, okay, this is going to be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it can't happen because of FIFA Pro rules and things, but I would love to see like an official patch. And this is asking way too much in terms of database creation, but imagine one that just started in 1950 and then you just went through and every year like a new load of 15-year-olds, so 16-year-olds appeared. They're all real life and you just plodded through this universe. You, an immortal football manager with a knowledge of the future. Oh,
they do that now only like the season started, so you have that option to start, and then as the day goes on, the real life transfers start coming in along in your database. But that would be pretty cool. To be fair,
that's some world creation.
Yeah,
it would be a little bit. So is that part of your desire for FM25 then, Iain? Obviously, that's on the on the horizon. What would you be looking out for apart from obviously making it essentially civilization?
Yeah, I need to invade more. By stealth, ideally. More spies. Marcelo Bielsa mode where you can spy on training. Actually, that is the thing. This will appall people, I'm sure. But imagine if it has not just the ability to set your training sessions, but to actually watch them. So that you could set up a whole load of crossing drills and watch your players do it. You could set up the match practice so that you can see the players in action. And this allies with the other perverted thought in my head of just remove the attributes. Keep them there behind the scenes. But you take over a club, you've just got a load of blokes, and you've actually got to watch them to figure out what it is that they're doing. And you still have your coach reports going, he's really quick or he's really good in the air and stuff like that. And you'll still have the stars to just show you what your coaches think of them. But that's the one thing I wish there was a button to turn it off. So, because you shouldn't really be there going, well, his pace is 17 and his pace is 15. But could you have sprinting drills and make little notes? Yes, I think you could.
Yeah.
At this point, if If my wife overhears any of this, I'll be a single man by the morning. But I'm going.
Well, in that case, can we recommend Musterman's Skin, because you're going to have the time to play it? So.
Yeah, but that was the thing. I remember talking about like the wish list and that was one of the things that earlier you said too many buttons, and we said that. But then I remember having a laugh, being contradictory, saying that actually they should add more buttons into the options so we can have more. We can customize the game in the way that we want, but also officially not having to download the skin. If I wanna, you can actually turn off all the attributes, but it's quite a way to do. You have to go out of your way to do it. But if there's just a button on you being able to customize the game a little bit more by doing things like that, I think it will just help a lot. It'll make the game a bit more. I don't know, like, because again, everyone keeps going to these custom skins because the original skin doesn't have what they want and what they need in order to enjoy their game. So maybe FM25 could have these sort of buttons in the game that allow you to do it, especially now that it's becoming so, it's popular now. It's not like only one or two people play the game anyway, so why do it? It's quite a few people that now play the game in that way. And that's because of, well, the game's now becoming data driven. So again, maybe you do scout a player, you've got certain data and also notes that your scout, we're telling you that he's fast. Not exactly telling you he's fast because it's on 17, 18. Like, I want to know he's fast because you've seen him in action sprinting and he's fast, not because it's telling you that he's fast because he's 18.
You could even have it comparing him to the players that are in your squad. So, like, right, this you thought this guy was quick. Honestly, you ain't seen nothing yet. Like, he leaves this fella for dust, because I do love talking to people who get into the absolute murky depths of where this game can go and join us in this sort of journey of going, you're right, like that always used to be my argument, Iain. Like, you'd turn up first day on the job and you'd look around at the players and you don't have numbers over everyone's heads. Like, I turn off the attribute. I play the attribute masking on personally. Of course, shout out to anyone to play however they want. Remember, play however you want. It's your game. It's your universe. I personally, for me, feel that sense of realism would be if I walk into a club, I don't know everything about everyone else in the league or the world, but it still seems weird that I know everything about the players that I'm going to be managing when I turn up on day one.
Instantly.
Like,
I'm not going to get that, am I? Like, especially in the low leagues, like non-league, I'm not going to have full reports. Even the staff at that club won't have a full report. It'll be on the back of a fag packet going, "Oh yeah, he's the top earner," is all it says. Like,
yeah. I'll tell you what, it would make people use the stats way more, which are incredible. I mean, FM24's just the granular level of detail and in the statistics is just astonishing. But you'd have to use it by that point.
That's the bit of a frustrating bit for me as well, is that clearly there's a lot of people in the development of the game that's gone through all this trouble and stuff of getting this data. Like, it must have been extremely hard work putting that data in, but there's nothing exactly leading you to that data. Even like, I remember doing my Moneyball saves or whatever, and Jack, the co-op does it a lot as well. But you quite literally have to go through load of barriers to customize the game in the way that you can actually see these numbers. They're in the game, but you have to go out of your way to actually put them on screen so it's readable for you. And the data's not put in context, and there's no glossary for it as well. So you don't exactly know what a progressive pass is. It just tells you that he's played 4 progressive passes, but you don't exactly know the length that it has to be to count as a progressive pass and that sort of stuff. And that is the frustrating bit, because there's so much data, good data in there as well, but we don't exactly know how to put it into context. And some of us don't know how to make decisions based on that data.
You know what it needs? It needs a manual. I don't know if either of you are old enough to recall the days when games came in.
Aaron's been banging that drum for the glossary.
Every time I speak to them, every year, the game needs a manual. Because as well as content creators, like, people come to us, and many times, not many times, a couple of occasions, I've given information which turns out not to be true, but it's my interpretation because I can't get the information from nowhere else, sort of thing. So it's just my interpretation of how to measure a high press. And we spoke about how it measures high press, and actually the game has a completely different idea to what we all know in real life, what PPD is in real life, but the game measures it differently. But we wouldn't have known that.
And it's
just playing the game, basically.
you go back and look at great games of the 90s. Jeff Crammond's Formula One Grand Prix was astonishing. It had a 200-page manual that basically taught you how to be a racing driver. It taught you like the correct angle to attack certain corners or the way to do a chicane and things like that. Civilization 1 from the early 90s. That was about
that was like the Rothmans books.
But it's every game though. Like I do remember growing up in every great game. I do remember spending a lot of the time with the pad on my lap, with then flicking through the manual and that sort of thing. And even like playing, it could be GTA, it could be FIFA. It's not exactly telling you how to be great at the game. It's just telling you certain information that you quite literally need to progress in the game, sort of thing. But with it, obviously, in Football Manager, there's an online manual, by the way. But again, everything seems very vague. Well, certain things, especially when you're reading about tactic, it just seems very vague. And actually, sometimes what it says in the manual, and then when you hover over it in the game, it's not giving you the exact same information. So then you're like, what's right, the online manual or the actual game?
Yeah, the biggest reason why you needed a manual in those days was something to read on the bus home from the video game shop. And then for the 45 minutes it would take to set up a new season.
Good reading. I was going to say, that loading time, you had to do something, didn't you? So it's like, right, on you go. Like, again, you'll remember as well, Ian, like when you loaded up the original one, do you remember you had to put the fixtures in the back of the manual? That was the code.
Oh my God,
anti-piracy code was fixtures. You had to put the result in before you could even play that. So
if in doubt, go with 2-1. Because I'm fairly sure I lost it at some point. It'll be 3 goes. 2-1, 2-1. There we go. We're in. Magnificent piece of work. But I'm really excited about the new one.
Will be great.
I think it's required a complete rebuild for a while. I think, just not that it's been bad. It's been brilliant, but you can see that it's progress built on progress built on progress. If it was a house, it would be like a weird kind of fairy tale wonky house.
Shape house.
It was. It needs something like this. I do not envy them that amount of work. There's a lot of them now, so I'm hoping it's going to be easier than you'd expect. But building something like that from the ground up is a huge challenge. But what another benefit of now is just near constant patches can come through. 20 years ago, you bought the game and that was it. You had to hope it didn't have a bug in it. It's going to be fantastic and great opportunity for content.
I think that's the scary thing. Well. I was going to say that's the scary thing for content creators, because now it's like, because a lot of us, it's our main income, so it's like we need the game to be good. So things are. I can't speak for all of them, but for me, because especially this year, like you say, it's reached a point where it just feels like it's just progress built on top of progress, and where my content is like it's tactics. I'm currently. I don't know if I should be so open about this, but I'm currently at a stage like I don't know where else to go. There's only so many times I can speak about Pep Guardiola's 4-3-3, and despite it being requested, it's like for me as a content creator, that's not how I'm enjoying Football Manager though. Like I used to enjoy when I was doing tactics and finding new things, and oh my God, that's how I can recreate a certain movement. Like I used to get excited, but now I'm at a point where the tactic screen's the same, so I don't get that. Oh, this is new, everyone. This is new this year. This is new, because it's just like. It's progress built on progress, so we get the libero role here and there, but it's all still in the same. Like people are still saying the same thing, sort of thing. And now I'm just at a point like I'm not exactly sure where to go when it comes to tactic content. So F125, I'm pretty excited, but also a little bit shaky, a little bit nervous.
I think what was interesting as well is a lot of us were like sort of desperate for set piece creators, and again I was one of them as well. Saying, look, give me a set piece creator. I want to really create something. And I even said, look, give me something like what Madden's got, where there's a playbook and all I've got to do is click the buttons. Like I'm not expecting a brand new set piece creator in FM24, because it's not going to be perfect from day one. And then they went, oh, here's a set piece creator, and I went, oh, great. And I never really touched it, and I was like, I can't believe I've banged on about this thing. And I was like,
it's actually pretty good. Like, I did enjoy it.
But my thinking was that it's not going to be perfect. So
yeah.
And it's the same with this brand new build. It's a brand new build. So again, we want it to be perfect from day one. Everyone wants things to be perfect from day one, but the reality is that they never are. Like we've just had work done on the house. We've spent like a year building this, the extension and flooring and kitchen, all that kind of stuff. The floor's got to come back up because it's been done wrong. Like That's the reality. Like, you know, things happen. You want it to be perfect, but there might be something that doesn't quite work. And if you're creating content on it, you've got like a stream, you've got like, I play long-term saves.
Yeah.
I have one save for the game cycle. I don't want to get 10 seasons in, 5 seasons in, and then go, something doesn't work. Now what? Start again, because I'm very much in story mode, narrative mode. I'm trying to sell this whole long-term plan.
I think because it's happened previously in Football Managers when they've made big changes. I think if you can feel the potential, you can kind of like next year it will be great. Like you just ride along with it. I think with just personally speaking with FM24, because it's been there, sort of the same thing, and kind of like if something isn't working, it's like my expectation now is things should be good because it's been built up, and we're still having like these imperfections and these bugs. Whereas FM25, I feel like because you understand they've just literally built this up. Then you're just like fair enough sort of thing. But you just want that potential. You still want a good game. And it's one of those things, actually, if you see a funny bug, you would rather laugh at it rather than be frustrated at it kind of thing because it's new. And but I'm pretty sure FM25. I'm excited more than nervous, but it's just that little thing.
I hope people will be patient because when it comes out, that it's going to have bugs. Because it's just been built brand new and it's being QA'd by their own team, which is great, but nothing compared to QAing it with 2 million people all at once. And there will be multiple patches while they iron it out. But I hope the community is kind of understanding of the challenge they're taking on. Because a lot of companies wouldn't be this brave. A lot of them would just go, "We've got something, it works. We've proved that people will still buy it, so we don't need to be brave." But it's really exciting. I think by the time sort of November, December comes around, it will be settled, and we're back on.
And also as well, other developers aren't open about the fact that there's change. Like it just comes like, all right, this is out now. Deal with it, and that's where you are. So you're right. I mean, it's a huge operation, and from what I've learned, Iain, people on the internet are really reasonable. So should be great.
I think a really important thing that I'm sure the three of us have been through is understanding that literally whatever you do, if you're writing, if you're making videos, if you're making podcasts, whatever you do, someone will call you the bad word for maybe a good reason, maybe no reason at all, and it's the cost of doing business. It's if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to spend my life having fun and doing fun stuff, someone's going to call me the bad word on the internet. And if you can get over that, and a lot of people can't, if you can get over that and be able to brush it off, it's like a freedom. You can do whatever you want once you're used to being sworn at. It's a bit like being married.
I'm a bit weird. Like I get this like artist thing where I'm a bit sensitive, but it's not over everything. Like if you told me the tactic doesn't work, like I'm not getting set. I've literally played 38 games. I know the tactics pretty decent, but there's little things about my video that it's like an edit, like something an edit, like because I'm sensitive. So if you criticize my edit, that's when I'm like, oh, you deep. Nah, I'm keep on fighting. It is so weird like that. But if you tell me my tactic doesn't work, I'll just ignore it or whatever. But the bad words I ignore. It's those little things that you actually feel that you spent that precious time on. That someone just completely tore down, and you're like,
I used to worry about it, and I got all kinds of stuff. I got people saying they're going to hang around outside the Arsenal media entrance so they could stab me.
It had to be my team, innit?
It had to be Arsenal.
I'm sorry.
My favourite one was I don't know if TweetDeck even still works. I haven't been on Twitter in years, but you could set up a channel for your own name. And I thought, well, this will be handy. If anyone's mentioned me, I'll see it straight away. The very first one that came up said, I really want to meet Iain Macintosh. And I thought, that's nice. Maybe we can make that happen. And then it continued, so I can break his fingers with a hammer so he never writes again. I was like, turn it off. But when you get loads of stuff like that, and if anyone's listening who's been making videos and has been hurt by the stuff that's come back, it's a simple transaction. There's two sides that you can be on. Very, very binary. You are either the person who is doing something that they love and having fun, or you're the person shouting abuse down the ether into nothingness who isn't having fun.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of times when you get talking to these people, you find that they're deeply, deeply unhappy about something. And this is just how it's manifesting itself. So if it just comes down to that simple binary choice, what side of the exchange do you want to be on? And if you keep running through that, running that through your head, I think you eventually get to a place where you're like, do what you want, mate. I'm having great fun.
Yeah. I'm like, but there's one guy, I'm pretty sure you come across him, Tony, as well. And he doesn't say bad. That's the worst thing.
Exactly which
he doesn't
guy
say
you're
bad
about.
word. But like I said, like, I take Football Manager a bit seriously. Some say a bit too seriously, but it helps me like now where I am now. But even like when I say I think I'm a manager, and there's a guy that will say, yeah, but you're not a real manager because you don't play 90 minutes. And that...
Let's not give him the airtime. Let's not give him the airtime.
But it grinds my gears. Because it's like, when you sit down and think about it, it's like, yeah, a real football manager does sit there for 90 minutes, but it's just like, but it's a game. But at the same time, it just really gets to me.
Is he saying that you're not taking it seriously enough? Which is incredible. But because you're not playing, you're not playing the full 90-minute highlight.
Yeah, that's the thing. That is on the level. That is on the level of people who go, you know, wrestling's fake, right? Like, it's that sort of thing. Just going, yeah, of course I do. You know, the Fast and the Furious isn't a documentary, like, but you enjoy that. Like, what are you on about? You absolute idiots.
It just gets to me though. Like, someone's just getting at me, like biting at me that I'm not a real manager, and it's just that I know I'm not, but I want to prove I am.
I went through a difficult bit because, like, you know, a bit like yourself, Ian, like you're self-employed, you're writing, you have the same with stand-up, and like you'd constantly get like things chucked at you.
That must be the worst.
And I was like, I went through a long period of just ignoring stuff. And I'm like, I'm you know, Mrs. J is sat there going, don't reply. Like, you know, you're going to look like an idiot when you reply. And thankfully now I don't care. So I'm just like, right, I'm going to say something back and I'll play along with it. And I had a brilliant thread with some guy a while back who just couldn't understand where I was coming from, but I was having a brilliant day with him. So I was just like, just entertaining myself at this point, going, look at this. This is where we're all having fun, aren't we? Which I suppose answers a question we did get for you, Ian, from Ace27 Gaming that says, why aren't you active on Twitter anymore?
Basically, because it does no good. There's nothing positive that comes out of that. And this is probably going to sound really, really cynical. But when I started on Twitter, it was 2009, and I was writing for a Singaporean newspaper as their UK correspondent, and I loved it. It was so collaborative and friendly. If I was, I don't know, watching Wigan or something, I hadn't watched them much, I could say, hey, like anything I should know about Wigan. And really nice Wigan fans would get in touch and tell me, like, you know, new players come through the youth network and stuff like that. And then through the sort of golden era of about 2010, 2013, it was like a whole community. And a lot of us who were either doing it or not doing it or being at a low level sort of got plucked up. You know, Michael Cox of Zonal Marking, James Horncastle, lots of people who might not have otherwise been spotted appeared. And then around about 2015, 2016, it started to get quite dark and nasty. But you could just about put up with it because it helped. And then after a while, I think it was a 2015 election that I was absolutely convinced Ed Miliband was winning because no one I knew was going to vote Tory. And that was the moment I thought, oh God, this isn't telling me what people think. This is just telling me what people on Twitter think and what my Twitter think. And as it's gone on, and I dipped back in when I first started doing the podcast in 2020, because I had deleted my 100,000 follower account during the pandemic, thinking I don't want to do it anymore, and this is the best way to do it. That was clever. So I set up a new work-based one, and just the whole mood had changed. And whatever you said, people were piling in. It felt like the only people left, the normal people, the nice people that you would, there's people I've made friends with who had nothing to do with football journalism, nice people who like football. They all seemed to have vanished, and it was basically just Nazis and journalists and in many cases, Nazi journalists. No one else was on there. It didn't seem to be fun anymore. It wasn't helping me because I wasn't finding out what people were thinking. It wasn't like a focus group. And the other thing that did it for me was when I started Muddy Knees Media, obviously running a business was quite a time-consuming, energy-consuming thing. And I would get on the bus to go into the studio and I'd get on Twitter and suddenly I'd be at the studio and half an hour had gone by and I'd just been doing that. And I hadn't really taken anything in. Whereas if I'd spent that half an hour reading a book or reading a proper newspaper or even just staring out the window, listening to music, I would have got to work in a nice chilled out place ready to go, or I'd got to work with a whole load of really important information, but I didn't. I'd just, because you know what you do, you follow the beef. You find out whose turn it is on Twitter to be public enemy number one, and then you trail through and you look at the replies, and you're filling yourself, I don't want to go all iffy, but you're filling yourself with negativity and bile right at the start of the day. And so, yeah, if I could think of a positive reason to come back, I might come back. But outside of telling the few remaining nice people that I've got a new podcast out soon, it doesn't seem. Now, I'm not saying LinkedIn is perfect because there's so much.
Thank you. I just jumping.
Before we get onto LinkedIn, Twitter feels very much like an argument that's been happening, and you sort of like turn up and go, "Nope, not for me, thank you." No.
I was just gonna say because I joined Twitter around these. I think like 2021 or 20, something like that. So I don't know anything different. But yeah, so and then when I went on LinkedIn around this year, I noticed personally a difference. But yeah, carry on what you're going to say.
Yeah, and the LinkedIn just seems to be everybody trying to convince their parents that they're doing really well and everything's fine. It's just like, it's a whole load of, I'm so proud to have just worked on this project. Everything's fine, Mum.
I saw, honestly, right? The best thing I saw on LinkedIn, because I'm relatively new to LinkedIn, right? I did it years ago, set it up when apparently you had to do it. And then I was like, recently, I'm like, maybe I should do LinkedIn. And what I saw on LinkedIn last week has made me consider I'm coming off it already. I saw someone have an announcement post, like footballers get the he signed. Yeah. Someone was announced, he signed, he is a manager of a hotel. That was like, welcome, Dan. Like,
when I've started YouTube, right? In the video, I used to think you have to do it, right? It's a YouTube thing to be like, hey, everyone subscribe to my channel. But like in that, your voice all of a sudden turns high pitch and hey, everyone there subscribe. So I thought that was the thing. Same thing as LinkedIn, right? So everything that happens in my life, like scouting wise, like scout of the week, I go straight to LinkedIn. Hey, everybody, I like to. Honestly, that's only because that's all I see. Like, but even like reading people's advice, like people are now motivational speakers as well. Yeah. Like again. That I'm reading that, I'm taking it in, right? Because I'm new to LinkedIn. I'm taking it in and like, you have to do this, so that's quite literally my profile as well. I'm just in tears because it was like 2 weeks ago when I'm active again. I looked at my profile, I was like, what is going on here? If my friends saw this, they'll be pissing their fans. So I was like, started just removing things. Now it just looks so plain and just like a normal social media place, a little bit. Yeah. None of this. I'm delighted to announce.
Like it's no anonymous eggs calling you all the name under the sun. It's true. Everyone's got their name on it, and frequently their employer. So while it's not foolproof, you think, okay, this by that virtue, it has to be a better place because no one's going to go completely mad on here, or at least not in that way. But I still can't quite do it, and I'm someone who pretty much posted my every waking thought from 2009 to 2015. When I accidentally weed on my infant daughter's head, I decided to instantly tell Twitter about it because I thought it was funny. When we had no milk and I wanted milk in my coffee, I asked Twitter whether I could drink my wife's expressed breast milk at 3 a.m.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, and I don't know. I can't do it. It's pretty much there, to be honest, just to let people know that I'm not dead yet, and haven't been sacked yet. And there's obviously a heavy yet on both of those.
But even like scouting, so I just again enjoy scouting, and my thing is that I don't view football like I'm just gonna find the next best thing and everyone that I do a report on must be suitable to play for Manchester City in the future. Like, I would happily find someone in Bulgarian league, be like, he'll be very good at the Belgian second tier. And I get that sometimes, but I scout reports like, yeah, he's never going to make it in the big time. I was like, you didn't read it at all, because I specifically said that I believe his ceiling's at this position. But that, again, that's what Twitter is, right? It's like all this elitist and all of that. If I did a scout report again for a Brazilian, it will probably get so many likes and retweets. People might not even be reading it. They're just liking it and retweeting it just so 5 years later they can say that they knew about the guy as well. But if I share about someone in the Croatian league or the Bulgarian league, then yeah, no one gives a toss. Or they're just going to tell you,
context slows everyone down, doesn't it? And Twitter is not a place for context. They increased your character limit if you could pay for it, so that you could provide context. But they don't want you giving all the details. They go, say this thing and get the flames higher. That's what they want. That's what I'd like.
Yeah, exactly. But I like the idea of having my own bubble as well, and not because once you're on Twitter, you're there again and again and again. You keep wanting to check, find out if someone said something about you or how your latest article's gone down, and you just never relax and never switch off. I have read like 10 times as many books in the last 5 years as I did probably in the 10 years before then, because there's nothing to distract me and my brain's nice and calm, and I can smash through 4, 5, 6 books every month. And it's a better way to live for me. Other people, I know there's a lot of football journalists who really do live on it. I've sat in the pub after games with football journalists who, I'd be there for a pint, cigarette. That's that done. And there'd be people there with their phone in front of their face. Hold on, someone's wrong about me. I have to put them right. Have a beer. Relax, it's done.
I just think, like, for me, it's a bit annoying. Like, I feel I'm at a stage where I just need to be on it to be seen. Yeah. And then obviously, if something can kick off from there, then that would be a different story. But I do want to be in that position where I don't feel like I have to be on it and that sort of stuff. Like, now, if I'm doing a scout report, what I actually do is make sure no one else has written about that person, because then I feel like I've found someone new or whatever. And that's my online portfolio. So that's what I take pride in a little bit. I would like to be off it a lot. And I guess, like, with LinkedIn as well, it's just a great place for me, again, in what I'm doing, to get feedback of people that are actually in the game professionally. But yeah, I would rather much be out there actually live scouting in football, where I'm like with a beer or whatever it is. Maybe not a beer, because you need to be completely sober. But just be living in the moment. Like, so I don't feel like I'm in the moment. Even when I'm watching football, sometimes I just don't feel like I'm in the moment, sort of thing. I'd rather just be in my own bubble, not be on the phone, pen and paper, and writing, sort of thing.
So is now a good time then to say, if you would like to follow the FM show on Twitter, it's at the FM Show Pod. We don't have a LinkedIn page just yet, but we will get one, and we'll say, here's things I've learned this week that make me feel grateful and blessed. And we'll do. God, the amount of people who feel grateful and blessed these days. Like, seriously, you just bought a new fridge. Like, come on, it's not a big thing, right? One question again that's come to us, Iain, from the football enthusiast Calcio. So they've already got a big tick for me. That's 2 Italian references there. Has there been a network game with Alex Stewart yet this year? That was what he's asking.
No, there hasn't been one. I think the last one was on YouTube, the Tifo channel, and the FM Draft one, where I broke his heart by scoring the most undeserved winning goal in the history of Football Manager. If you haven't seen that already, I know this sounds like I'm on LinkedIn. I've done this great video.
We'll put a link to it below. Yeah.
Notice me, Mum. Notice me. But it is genuinely funny, just for the look on Alex's face when Ross Barkley slams home the winner from 30 odd yards. But he's working for a scouting company, funnily enough, and doing great things. That man has a brain the size of Canada. He is ludicrously intelligent, but you never know. You never know. I suspect, though, it's more likely to be Civilization, because we did a Football Manager live competition, and we were doing these sort of quarterfinals in Leeds and in Glasgow. I think it was a Glasgow one on the train that I introduced him to Civilization. and I mean, he took to that like you wouldn't believe, and it's
We
racking up
lost another one.
thousands.
We lost him.
Racking
no.
up thousands of hours.
Yeah, we're trying to get Alex on, so hopefully at some point he'll put down his musket and he'll come back with his cones and his high vis jacket. So that sounds good. That sounds good. I think things that we need to try and sort of like establish going forward. There, we mentioned historically getting these working together with live shows, like doing like these weird Q&As that we ended up doing together. Do you remember these? Back in the day when you had the
Apple
the
headquarters
Apple store
or something.
Mm.
Yeah.
So this is where, so what this happened to Aaron. I don't even know if I've told you the story.
I
Before,
don't know what's happening here.
So I'd started doing the Football Manager show as the stand-up show, right?
Yeah.
And Miles was sort of like really keen to help push it, and like SI were amazing, by the way. And they were using their social media presence to help sell tickets, and off the back of the Football Manager Store My Life book as well. We were having a lovely time. I get a phone call saying, oh, we want to try and put an event on, and it's going to be in London. It's going to be in the Apple Store. It's in the middle of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, right? Do you want to come and do it? And I was looking, and like, thankfully it fell in my scheduled day off, right? So I said, look, I'll come down, I'll do it. And Ian's hosting this Q&A, and it was one of those moments where if I hadn't worked out that the Fringe was weird enough as it is, that people were turning up to the show, I hadn't figured that to go to the Apple Store that was still open with people wandering around. There was this Q&A, and like, am I thinking it wrong? Was there about 100 people or something, 150 people or something, just like all in rows sitting there going, here's Ian, having a great chat, and there's Miles, and then there's this idiot here, just like, oh, I played as Blythe Spartans once.
Yeah, that was because it was a whole sort of stage and rows of chairs. I think it was more than 150, to be honest. Maybe they were expecting something completely different. Maybe they just got mixed up. Maybe they're on the wrong day. They seemed appreciative. So, any audience that doesn't throw stuff is a good audience.
Very quickly, while the show's on, have you remembered, if this is YouTube, to hit like on the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and leave us a nice little comment as well, because that really helps everything out. Makes the algorithm pick us up, puts us in front of more eyes. That would be great. Gives us a bit of conversation to go with as well. Obviously, if you're on Spotify, just subscribe on Spotify, leave us a little review, leave some comments on that as well, and join the Discord. Come and get in the Discord. Come and have some conversation. That's where it all happens. There's loads of people having some great stuff in there. We can talk tactics, we can talk game modes, we can talk player searches, we can talk real football, we can talk anything over in the Discord. So all those links in the description below. Basically, it helps us. It really helps us get the show in front of the most eyes possible. So if you can do all those things, that would be awesome. It'd be much appreciated. But yeah, back to the show. Yeah, true. We did another one in Edinburgh, in Edinburgh itself with Kenny Miller as well, which was great. And then there was then you did the Q&A for the film as well, and that was a weird thing to happen. And I don't know if I think I must have mentioned this to yourself, Ian. But so again, some of our viewers might not be aware that there was a Football Manager documentary made. Okay, and it came out. It's called Football Manager: An Alternate Reality. I think it is. Louis Miles, again, someone else we're trying to get on the show. He's the director of it. He did some other great stuff as well, which we'll link below. I'm in the film, which is odd. Okay, so they filmed like some stuff around our house down here in York, filmed some stuff up at Spartans. Interestingly, before I tell the full story, there's a shot at the start of the film, right? And it's from this house, okay, from across the street, and it's dark at night, and there's a really angry woman walks into shot. That's Mrs. J, because we've been filming that long that she'd gone to her sisters and came back and was furious that we're still filming. So that's Mrs. J's first film credit, right? And this film starts, and they've got these premieres on, and it was like sort of simulcast all around these cinemas all around the country, and I believe in Norway as well, and like a couple of other countries were happening. And Miles said, "Oh, come down and watch the film." And Ian's on the stage doing the Q&A with Miles, and I'm sat here watching this film. And the opening shot is the house, and then as my massive moon head is on screen, right? And I'm looking, going, oh, my head looks pretty big. And there's a dude stood right next to me, right, watching this film. And he just turns around and looks at me and he goes, is that your head? And I was like, yeah, it is. Yeah. I was like, yeah, it's me.
It's so weird.
Oh,
It's-
my
The
God.
thing is that I was in the film and I knew I was in it.
I think the whole thing's on YouTube now, isn't it?
think so,
I'm
yeah.
fairly
I
sure
think, I think I saw it on YouTube.
it's
Yeah,
just freely
I
available.
wanted to say it was okay. I wanted to say it's on YouTube, but I wasn't sure if it was supposed to.
Yeah,
be
I
on
think
YouTube.
it's easily
Yeah.
Oh,
available.
yeah, okay.
But in that,
Yeah.
everyone I know who's watched it and then gone, oh my God, like you're on it. They've texted me and gone, what exactly are you wearing? And it's because I was my daughter who's 13 now, she was about 2 at the time, and I had to go off and do the shoot, and I was running a bit late, doing too much, and I was holding her, and I tried to hand her to my wife.
Oh no!
She just grabbed hold of my t-shirt and just yanked the whole thing. So in it, I look like I'm trying to get some cleavage out. I look like it's my big break. I've gone full Sydney Sweeney. It was
One of those Geordie Shore t-shirts that sort of like come around out, like just the big.
I haven't got the physique for this.
Oh
So
my!
people chance upon it now, and well, now obviously the text message is, "Oh my God, you haven't got grey hair and you're about 2 stone lighter," but always is. And what the hell are you wearing? So thanks for that, kid. But yeah, weird time.
We had a bit where we did the show at Blythe Spartans as well. I'm pretty sure I've told this story on the show, so apologies if I have. We did the show at Blythe Spartans, and at the end of it, the chairman at the time, who's just recently moved on, I did the show, finished, and the show was about me applying for the Blythe Spartans job and not getting it. Spoiler alert. Show's finished. Chairman comes on at the end of the show to sort of say like thank you for people for coming and that we were doing it at the club. He was really grateful. And after that finish, he goes, "Are you the guy that applied for the job?" And I was like, "I've literally just been telling you about that."
Oh my God!
I love these crossover things. I did some sort of Twitter, or I can't even remember who it was for, but the challenge was being Bala Town manager in the Welsh League, because they seem to be the most obscure team that I could find. And then in real life, they got to the UEFA Cup first qualifying round, and the chairman of the club got in touch with me on Twitter and was like, "Do you want to come do a story?" And I managed to pitch it to ESPN, who I was working for at the time, and so it was. I got in my car and drove off to North Wales and this tiny town. And the chairman was like, "You can stay at my place if you like. I've got loads of spare rooms." And so from just playing, oh no, it's fine. It's all legit.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know, but it's just that's just so crazy.
I'll do anything to get the story. But just out of picking Bala Town randomly to like 6 months later, I'm in the chairman's house wearing a necklace as the music plays. Who could have seen that coming?
I was playing on, remember my Twitch save, and we was like, oh, we're just gonna pick the most local team, because we had this database where you can go into like level 12 or tier 12 in England, and it was like, yeah, just pick the most local team. So I found 2. So then we looked for those teams on Twitter, because I was doing this live, and it was like one of the teams were following. So I was like, oh, we're just gonna use that team then. And then literally like a month later or 2 months later, I'm playing for the team. We're going out every weekend. So it was just like, but it just happened so quick, didn't it? Because I remember first, they just like invited me down for the first game, and it was just like, oh yeah, you're Aaron, innit? Yeah, come into the changing rooms. And it was just like, yeah, you say something now. I was like, wait, this is a team talking before a game, and it was like, I've got to say something. I was like, wow, this is
what we've got to do? We got to weaponize this. We've got to use this for our own devices. Just start picking places we really want to go. I mean, I've always wanted to go to Nashville, and they're in MLS now. So
we can do that, couldn't we?
Yeah. If you see
I think that's one of the good things about Twitter. That's probably one good thing. That still happens to this day, don't it? Like I
guess it's one of those things with the game as well now. Like the clubs are now seeing the benefit of this. They're seeing the buy-in. Because without sounding a little bit old man shouts at clouds, football clubs are very like at the elite level. They're these global conglomerates that that are just entities. They're not the community anymore that they used to be. Whereas if you can make a connection with a non-league club or even like a decent sized, professional club, then it's great. It reminds people just how magical football can be. And people love being with football, no matter how big or small it can be. And the fact that clubs are now leaning into this and going, you know what? It kind of benefits all of us here if we get our name out. I mean, again, there's moments where you don't necessarily know what content's being made. Again, I remember Miles taking me to one side before we did the show for SI, and he was like, "I've not seen this show, have I?" I was like, "No, you haven't. No, I hope you like it." But it's great. I mean, what we need to do, we need to try and collect again. Maybe revisit the book. Ian, I'm considering revisiting the stand-up show to bring more boys to life. But I think 10 years has passed. So many more stories must have been made now about what people have done. They hear what we talk about and we think, "God, that's extreme," and then they've gone one level higher. And you used to always hear, even with applying for the job, I'd get a response on Twitter going, my mate's done that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm not saying that I'm the first person that's ever done it. I'm not.
Didn't invent application forms.
Yeah. Like, and it's just like
I applied for the Bolton Wanderers job when I was 12, long before Championship Manager came out, and I'm fairly sure you go back, you find schoolboys applying for the jobs in the 1920s. So I think we're on safe ground there.
Yeah, I reckon so. Cool. Okay, so I tell you, we'll start to look to round this up then, because I think we've had a bit of fun. It's been nice catching up. So
there is. You said you jumped off Twitter. There is one question I'm dying to know. It might be my new thing, asking every guest that we have now.
Go on.
Is 10th mid-table? No, it's 10th. What's it?
Oh,
it's 10th
top
half. This is going to be I need your opinion. It's 10th top.
I'm going to say 9th to 14th is mid-table. Like the mid-table, it's a chunk, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. See, my thing is when I was reading his tweets and stuff, I'm like, I don't think he's articulating himself well, like a bit like me sometimes in debates. But I think he had sort of a point. He lost his point when he was talking about the bottom table. I think he should just said top half is this, mid table, and then because someone then asked, so then what's 10th then? If 1 to 9th is top half, and then 11th to bottom, and he's just like, what's 10th? Is like Crystal Palace.
well, on my Greece save at the minute, right? Because obviously this relates to a 20-team league, for example, right? So 1 to 9, then 10 to 20. In Greece, I have to finish in the top 6, and I'm in the championship group. Okay, from 6th down to 14th is the relegation group. Now, you're not going to get relegated if you're 7th, because the 2 teams who are at the bottom tend to only have 4 points by that point anyway. So what they might as well call it is the other group. Like, just because I'm not going to get relegated, but it seems really harsh. In the same way that, saying 10th is top of the bottom half. What they need to say is
dangerously close to Belgian football at this stage, isn't it? Where suddenly everything breaks into 17 different divisions that only play on a Tuesday unless it's a full moon, in which case they'll play twice on a Thursday. Like,
and you only get points by if you can guess the right number that we got in our heads.
Keep it simple. Everyone plays everyone twice. It's fine. If you're a smaller division, everyone plays everyone 4 times. It's easy. You don't have to mess with this.
Yeah, it gets a little bit shooting stars, doesn't it? Name a hairy dog. No, not that one. Like, that's how you get the points.
That's what the people on Twitter are doing, isn't it? They're trying to push this playoffs for the Champions League now. So if you finish 4th, you should be in a playoffs for that 4th spot. But you finished 4th. So why do you need to now play?
I am going to get on my high horse. It's called the Champions League. It's not called the Somewhere in the League, right? Yeah.
It should be as well.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll get on my high horse. This FA Cup bollocks always does my head in. Now, I grew up watching the FA Cup. I love the FA Cup. The FA Cup's been sold down the river by the football authorities. The reason it's a diminished thing is they've made it a diminished thing. They've moved kickoff from 3 p.m., not this year, but most years. They've Wembley being used for semi-finals, replays being taken off. The games being spread across like a 5-day window instead of those glorious Saturday afternoons where it was like like talk about wrestling earlier. It was like a Royal Rumble, just everyone in there. Put a Champions League place.
Focus. Sit in front of Football Focus.
Put a Champions League place on the FA Cup. and I bet you won't see a
Yeah.
single reserve team, because the problem has
Yeah.
never been whether Man City will play the reserves, because Man City's reserves would probably finish third or fourth. The problem has been that everyone underneath 8th place will play their reserves, and so the game's just I can't be interested if they're not interested. Stick a Champions League place on
That's
there. I
true.
guarantee you the FA Cup will be the most vibrant cup competition that's ever been in existence.
And at the end of the day, it'll still be Man City in the final anyway, so it doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
exactly.
So it's just, and get rid of those replays so that they can play lucrative exhibition matches at the end of the season to rest those players up. That's what you want, right?
Yes.
This is why we don't like elite football anymore around here.
But talking of people on Twitter who are lovely and weren't football journalists or anything, there's a guy called Jim Burke who's from Scotland, and he has a saying which is apposite here. It is, football, if I didn't love it, I'd hate it. We make a lot of excuses for how awful some aspects of football are. But this is the path we've chosen, and we're bound to it now.
Fair. Right, well, if we start to wrap things up then, Iain, any final thoughts, any hopes for FM in the future? We've got maybe about sort of 5 or 10 minutes left, so anything you want to get off your chest, anything you really want to see, or things you're glad that aren't here anymore?
Just me winning. I just want FM to come out that I'm good at. Because this has been the curse. It's honestly, this is like a Faustian curse that I have been put in a position where I am blessed and grateful to be granted the opportunity to earn money for playing Football Manager. I mean, this is 14-year-old me locked somewhere underneath all this grey hair. Mainly doing cartwheels that he's seen boobs, but he's also doing cartwheels. This is his job. This is absolutely incredible. Yeah. But the payoff appears to be that I'm never allowed to be any good at it. So that would be a good start. I would love that training mode. And I know it's really stupid, and I wouldn't want to sit and watch 90 minutes of training, but just, run through some set pieces, or just get them all running around in a circle. And
we made this point, right? Like,
you'd like to have the option.
Because someone said it, right? Someone said it online as well on Twitter that this should be a thing, and there's people like, but this, but that, and it's like, but you don't have to watch it. You know what I mean? Like you
in the same way you manage in Latvia, but it's an option if you want to.
Exactly. Like he's got to a point. It's like if you're the type of person that don't want to see it, then it's likely you're the type of person that delegates trading in the first place. Like, you know what I mean? So you don't have to see it, and then that's a lot. Again, Twitter don't really understand that thing. When you're suggesting these things, is a lot of these things that you don't have to see it. It's just trying to tailor the game more suitable for everyone.
Also, if going back to me, when I manage a big team like Liverpool, I feel like there's a Liverpool way, and it has to run through the whole club. Liverpool's success in the 70s and 80s, they always say, was built on the fact that the only thing they did in training was 5-a-sides. Imagine that. Just like, okay, Monday we're doing 5-a-sides, and you can, from your squad, pick your own 5-a-side teams and have a tiny little pitch, and they're all doing that, and they're getting marks, and you're seeing how well they can pass the ball and stuff, and you can hit the skip button and just get the stats. You can just run through the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see that level of involvement. And the other thing, I don't know how this would work, and I don't think it really makes sense, but bear with me. I don't know if SI could do this themselves, but set up like self-contained Football Manager games. So you've got 92 teams in this English league, and they're all managed by real people, and all money is real. So if you are particularly wealthy, you can get into the game by buying Manchester City. Maybe there'll be like an auction or something. I bought Manchester City for, I don't know, 200 quid to play this game. And all those players have a value that you set. So if you're, let's say you, Tony, are playing as Sunderland, and you've got 100 quid that you've dedicated, you can phone me up and say, can I take Rodri off your hands for 25 quid? Or you could go scouting Aaron's team. Aaron's playing as Rochdale, and he's like working on youth development, and you're actually plucking his players. Go 3 for a £5 up through there. And SI would take the money. SI would take the money by like having cuts of all these transactions. But you build it scale by having multiple self-contained little football universes. So the money's ticking over every time a transfer deal gets made. and you can actually end up using it like a job. So Aaron is obviously brilliant, and he would have Rochdale in the Premier League with all these players that he's developed over the years. And now he's selling them for 50 quid a pop. He only bought Rochdale for £2.50. And now look at
It's
him.
a bit like the sort of So Rare or something, or
Yeah, I was
like a little bit like
this could be like an app.
It could be
Possibly.
like how they said Second Life was supposed to be about 20 years ago. It's like this
Yeah.
alternative world that exists.
Yeah.
becomes-
Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
You could have the high roller tables. You could have a whole load of celebrities like throwing thousands of pounds at each other. And again, SI is pulling their 1%.
I love the fact that even in the wonderful safe space of Football Manager, the possibility of sports washing could still exist.
It's a 3-4-5 got me.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think Man City have ruined this enough. So let's create another space where them and Newcastle can pretend as though, oh, look at this! I bought this club for 100 quid. I don't own this bit.
I'm looking for a multiverse of sports washing.
Oh dear. And I think on that note, that's probably a fair moment to call it. Iain, honestly, an absolute pleasure having you back on, pal. It's been great to catch up, and we obviously hope everyone's enjoyed listening to it. If they want to hear more from yourself or read more of your work, where can people find you?
Well, I'll tell you what, from Monday, I'll be presenting the Daily Football Briefing, which is a 10-minute sort of roundup podcast designed to be listened to while you're making your kids pack lunch for school, or while you're grabbing a coffee, or while you're walking to the bus stop. It's just a quick roundup of everything that happened last night and everything that's going to happen tonight. And it will be out every morning, Monday through Friday. And I'm going to be presenting that, as I say, from... At the moment, the schedule has me down to do 35 straight nights, which hasn't gone down well with Mrs. Macintosh. So I may have to pull in some cover somewhere. But we're going to run that all the way through the summer tournaments, and then from August the 5th into the new season. So have a listen to that if you like. I'm not here to force anyone's arm. I'm a libertarian at heart. And also the Totally Football Show, going back to those post-pandemic days, we made a whole series of podcasts going back through old European championships, starting with 1988, because it's the first one I actually watched. And it's all the voices from the Totally Football Show recounting their memories. So they're on the Totally Football Show feed right now. So again, if you like it, dig in.
Beautiful. Love it. Aaron, do you want to plug our socials very quickly, and then we'll round this one off?
Yes, you can search the FM Show Pod on the... We keep calling it Twitter, but it's now called the X.
No one calls it X. Not even Elon Musk calls it X.
Or you can join us on patreon.com/the FM Show Pod. You can join as little as £3. You can join the other 55 Wonder Kids that we got. You could be a club legend for £5, join the other 12 members, or you could be a club icon for £12 a month. Again, we're not forcing you. I might be a little bit. But...
for 60 quid a month, you can come for tea. So
yes. I've got enough rooms in my house. I don't, but we'll make room.
Yeah, no, early access, of course, to public episodes, exclusive episodes every single Monday, and some other benefits as well, including potentially a Q&A that we discussed last week. So do support us if you can. That'd be much appreciated. As always, Aaron, it's a pleasure chatting to you every single week, my friend. And Iain, honestly, mate, lovely to have you back. Great to catch up with you. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Stay safe, everyone. Take care, and we will see you all very soon. Bye now.
Want to learn even more about Football Manager? Subscribe to the Patreon. Just visit patreon.com/thefmshowpod. Don't forget to rate and review, and follow along on the socials at the FM Show Pod.